Out front now, retired Army Major General Marilyn Quagliotti. She served in the U.S. military for 32 years, becoming the first woman to command a battalion in a combat division. She was also the first woman promoted to general officer and receive a second star. So, Major General Quagliotti, I very much appreciate your time. A lot to talk about here, but let's just start with the words from the now Secretary of War, who said that the United States does not, quote, fight with stupid rules of engagement. We untie the hands of our war fighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill. So what are the impact of those words? No, we're not going to fight with stupid rules of engagement, talking about hunting and killing our enemies.
Well, first of all, we don't want to be an army that does that. Once you lose all discipline with an army, what you end up with is what we saw in Russia. The American people do not want to see their army or their military act like that. That's not who we are or who we think we are as Americans. So that was very disturbing to hear him say that. It was also disturbing for him to talk about changing standards that really, we have had lots of standards, and standards are good, and standards sometimes need to be elevated, especially if you've been at war for 20 years. We go through periods of time, long periods of time where people are in war and standards lapse. So what he said about standards, I have no problem with. It was some of the other things that he mentioned that were really disturbing.
Okay, so tell me, such as what? And I just want to again get back to you, right? You were the first woman in the United States to command a battalion in a combat division, right? So you come with that. When he says it's the highest male standard only, and if that means no women in combat, so be it. How do you see that? And what else particularly troubles you?
Well, I think what he's talking about is physical training standards. And we've always had two separate standards, one for women, one for men. Be honest with you, I'm out now, so I don't know what they're doing now. But those standards were pretty tough. And if he's saying that if you have an MOS or a military occupational specialty in combat and you want to maintain the same standard for everybody in that role, I have no problem with that. Okay, fine. We've also had height and weight standards, and men and women have had different height and weight standards. You don't say to men, you have to meet women's height and weight standards. So establishing one standard for everybody doesn't make a lot of sense. If you're going to do it for a job and say, if you want this job, you have to have this standard, that's fine. But that takes a lot of work and a lot of effort to put that in place.
So what troubles you the most then?
I guess what troubled me the most was just his belief that we don't have to follow the rules of war. We don't have to abide by the Geneva Convention, which we are signed on to. And rules of engagement, you can argue all you want to about rules of engagement, but those are put in there mainly to protect civilians during war. And you may not like it, but you know, we don't drop 2,000-pound bombs on apartment buildings, for example.
Well, right, people look at what's happening in Gaza, or they look what's happening in Ukraine. Nobody wants to have that happen at the hands of American soldiers. I can't imagine anybody would. Hegseth did also say, though, and perhaps this is part of the reason that he wanted to fly them all in, of course, the irony of that happening on a day where the government's going to shut down, that they have to get in line or step aside. Here's how he put it.
But if the words I'm speaking today are making your heart sink, then you should do the honorable thing and resign. We would thank you for your service.
So do you think we're going to see resignations or no?
I don't think so, not right away. Flag officers and all officers really are used to policy changes. You have a new administration, policy change. Policy changes happen, and then you're responsible for executing those policies. if you come to a point in time when you really cannot execute those policies, as long as they're legal and ethical, and you no longer can support something because it's not legal or ethical, or you just say, I just can't do this, this is wrong, then okay, maybe it's time for you to resign. But, you know, I don't see this as a full-scale resignation of everybody who was sitting in that room. I just don't think that's going to happen, nor should it.
All right, well, General Quagliotti, I appreciate your time and thank you very much.
You're welcome.